Good morning. Well, there I am. Hello. Good morning and welcome to Golden Gate Center for Spiritual Living. Come on in, get a seat. I'm Reverend Mary Murray Shelton. I'm the community spiritual leader here at Golden Gate, and my pronouns are she and her. We are here at Golden Gate Center for Spiritual Living, which is, of course, on land that belonged to indigenous tribes, probably the coastal Miwok, I think it is here. So we want to acknowledge that. Welcome all those of you who are here with us online this morning. We are a center for spiritual living. So we belong to an organization whose vision is to create or be a part of creating a world that works for all. Now that's kind of a tall order, but all of us in the room are part of creating that, starting with ourselves. So the first thing we want to do this morning is greet each other. So I want to invite you to stand up and walk around now. Say hello to people you haven't seen in a while, introduce yourselves to those you don't know, and generally welcome each other. And those of you that are online, greet yourself and welcome yourself to this wonderful event of being here with us. In just a moment, we're going to sing together. So pour another cup of coffee and get ready for a lovely morning. We're glad you're here. Thank you. Please come on back and have a seat. And we have some interesting music today because we have kind of a combination going on here. Lisa Ferraro is our musician this morning, but she's been having some issues with her internet and computer and whatnot. So 2 of the songs are just Lisa, the opening and closing songs. The other 2 songs are videos of songs that she did with her other performing partners. And so those will be coming up in just a little bit. So the first song is just Lisa. The second one is with Natalia. So that's why they're both on the screen this morning. And we're going to start with We Are One, which is a song that we have sung with Lisa before. So I want to invite you to stand and sing. The lyrics are simple. You'll pick it up right away if you don't already know it.
We are one in the Spirit of God. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Lisa.
We are one in the Spirit of God. We are one in the Spirit of God. We are one, we are one, we are one, we are one. We are one in the Spirit of God, in the Spirit. the Spirit of God.
Very good. Thank you. You may be seated. So now is the time that we begin to turn within. We've done the greeting, we've done the singing, so we've made ourselves present and we've acknowledged each other. That's a great way to start. Now we're going to turn within so we can focus internally together on creating that bowl of consciousness that lifts us all up. So I'm going to invite our morning practitioner, Leslie Janetti, to come up and do the opening for us now.
As I turn within, I recognize the one infinite life, the spirit of love, that this magnificent all-in-all power moves upon itself, and it creates out of its movement. It recreates out of its movement. It exalts life forms everywhere in the visible and the invisible. And I trust in my heart that this one is an integral part of me and everyone and everything, everywhere, in every place. I speak my word and I claim an opening in consciousness for the resonant realization that the life within is the magnetic energy of love, that it attracts to itself more of itself everywhere present. It vitalizes and it energizes everything, that awakens to it and allows for it to fill every molecule and cell with its power, which always manifests and demonstrates as oneness. In today's service, the one infinite life is harmonizing itself through everyone, through Reverend Mary's word, through the entire service. And I give thanksgiving for the life within each one that calls everyone forth to their utmost. And I release my word to the law of mind, which celebrates my word into itself and brings it into fruition for the highest and best, and so it is.
If all the world is full of thorns, the lover's heart would be a bed of roses. Even if the sphere of stars stops turning, the world of lovers keeps going on. Everybody gets sad sometimes, but the lover's soul keeps a tender smile. Give the lover an unlit candle, and she'll awaken with her own light. If all the world's full of thorns, the lover's heart will be a bed of roses. Even if the sphere of stars stops turning, the world of lovers keeps going on. Everybody gets sad sometimes, but the lover's heart keeps a tender smile. Give the lover an unlit candle, and he'll awaken it with his own light. If all the world is full of And if the sphere of stars stops turning, the world of lovers keeps going on.
That's Natalia Zuckerman with her there. So this year, our theme is Grand Rising. It's a vision of stepping up into something greater. And you might notice that there's a lot of what appears to be conflict and darkness happening in the world. It's always chaotic when there's a shift happening. And when you're living through the shift, like we are, it's kind of chaotic. And who knows how much chaos is involved in that kind of a shift. You know, if you've ever been a part of, well, we've all been part of a birth one way or another, our own, of course, but it's a messy situation, birth. Not all of it is pretty. The result is good. The process can be painful and long and very messy and not beautiful. Everybody still with me here? Don't go unconscious now. So that is kind of the situation that we're in here in the world. Something new is being birthed, and at the same time, there's a lot that is resisting that birth, but the universe goes forward. It doesn't seem to go backward. So what we need to kind of remember and be a part of is the light that is still shining, the roses rather than the thorns, as they were singing. So today, well, this month, I'm talking about that's the way we've never done it, instead of that's the way we've always done it. That's the way we open to something completely new, or make space for something that's new, because if it is new, it's bound to be uncomfortable. Now, let me ask you this. How many of you are sitting where you always sit? Okay, now if you're sitting where you always sit, I'm going to ask you to get up and move someplace else. Because if we want to make the world a better place, we have to be willing to shift. And if we're not even willing to change where we sit, it's kind of hard to change the world, yeah? Those of you in the back could move forward. Those of you at the sides could trade places with the people in the middle. You at home, at least shift your pillows, okay? So there's something a little bit different going on, which allows us to see from a different perspective. Because I'm talking today about the trust walk. Yes, now all of a sudden I've given everybody permission to chat. I don't remember doing that. All right, can we come to quiet now? Thank you for being willing to make that shift. So what happens is that now you're seeing from a different perspective, maybe just a little bit different, but whatever seat you're sitting in has a different perspective than the one you were in before. And just if you weren't willing to change, just notice that. Just notice that. Because change in the world is going to be uncomfortable. That's how it is. How many of you have ever been on a trust walk? Yeah? In class, maybe. We've done trust walks in Science of Mind classes. So with a trust walk, you have to... Hello? There we go. With a trust walk, you have to surrender control to the person who's leading you. A trust walk is a place where you don't have the control. You don't have the control of where you're going or of looking out for your physical body. You've given that to somebody else, and you have to let them guide you. And I often tell students, no peeking. That's the hardest part, to surrender completely where you're going and what's going on, and assume that who's taking care of you is trustworthy. So you know the story about the farmer and the terrible flood? The farmer and the terrible flood. So there's a flood that's happening, and the water is up to his porch, and he's standing there looking out at it and watching it surrounding his home. It's still rising, and a boat comes by with two of his neighbors in it. And one man in the boat hollers at him, "Jump in, Fred. Come with us. We're going to take you to safety." Fred says, "No, thanks, Joe. I put my trust in the Lord. The Lord is going to save me." So they go on. And the water keeps pouring in. The rain keeps coming down. The water keeps rising until the whole first floor of his home, all the way to the ceiling, is filled with water. And he's, meanwhile, on the second floor, out on the balcony. And he's watching. And a second boat comes by with the local sheriff. And the sheriff says to him, "We're evacuating everyone. The water's still rising. The river's going to pass flood stage within an hour. Jump in so we can get you out of here and take you to safety." And the farmer says, "No, thank you kindly, sir. The Lord will save me." The sheriff shakes his head and goes on to do his other rescues. Well, within another hour, the water's all the way up to the roof, and the farmer is standing now on the roof, on the top of the house. And a rescue helicopter flies over and drops a ladder down. And they've got the megaphones out, and they holler down to him, "Climb up. Let's get you out of here." And the farmer yells back, "Nope, thanks anyway. The Lord will save me." So the helicopter pilot flies on to do the rest of his rescues, and the water continues to rise, and eventually sweeps the farmer away, and he drowns. He winds up standing in front of God in heaven, and God looks up and says, "What are you doing here?" The farmer says, "I put my trust in you. I had faith that you would save me from the flood, but you let me drown. Why didn't you save me?" God says, "Give me a break. I sent 2 boats and a helicopter. What do you want?" Oftentimes, we don't recognize help when it arrives. We don't surrender to what's available to us to support us and help us. Maybe that's part of the chaos we're experiencing inwardly and in the world, is that what we need to allow to move in order to assist us, we're not willing to surrender to in some fashion. So when we are releasing control, when we are surrendering to guidance, we are having to feel our way. We can't see, hear, think our way to the solution because we're in an unfamiliar territory. We're someplace we've never been before, at least in our own experience, and we're not sure what to do. So we're sensing, but without being able to see where we're going. Now, when we trust intuition, when we trust guidance, and we let ourselves sense forward into it, sometimes we discover new awarenesses and new understandings that come to us in a nonlinear way. That can be unnerving, particularly for us in the West, because we're very rational as much as, or we like to think we're very rational. I'm not sure that's entirely true, but it's hard for us to let go and trust what we can't put our fingers on and control and prove. Anybody in here not familiar with this aspect of our personalities? Yeah, this is how we do it a lot of times. So when we are feeling our way forward, when we're surrendering to guidance, we have to test a little bit. You know, when you surrender to guidance, you need to put your toe in the water a little bit before you launch forward. And in 2 Corinthians, in one of the verses, St. Paul says this interesting thing. He says, "For we walk by faith and not by sight." And I think it goes with that idea of not giving into appearances being the whole truth, not assuming that what we understand is all there is to understand, or what we see or perceive is the whole truth. There's always more than we've been able to recognize or get hold of or grasp. Ernest Holmes wrote, "There comes a time when everyone must take an uncompromising stand, a time when faith and trust in God alone become the only course of action." Now that's scary, because what we're discovering is that life is a trust walk. And the question is God trustworthy? Well, sometimes yes, sometimes no, is what it looks like in our experience. If we've ever had prayers we thought weren't answered, if we'd ever had negative experiences or things that went terribly wrong for us, and who wouldn't identify with some of those things? So he says, this is true for every person seeking spiritual healing, a time when faith and trust in God alone become the only course of action. This is true for every person seeking spiritual healing. She begins with hope, though a fear of the past or the future may still be present. As he turns to the Spirit within, willing to follow wherever it may lead, there comes a new vision and a new purpose. There is something in the very process of letting go that sets something else into motion, that allows something more to reveal itself to us, something we haven't seen up until that moment. And we want to, I think, bargain, like, well, if I trust you, then please don't do this. You can do anything else, but don't do this. Because we don't know what might be entailed in this, but we think it's not good, whatever that is. So we want to control even God. Do your best, but not this, or go that way. As if we have a bigger perception of what the situation is and we understand it better than God possibly could. Does that really make sense? And yet, it doesn't really work that way, because an infinite mind is not what we're actually carrying around in here. We have access to it, yes, we have access to the infinite mind, but that part of it that we're using all the time is the part that makes the most sense within our own lives. And so the access to all of how everything else connects and hooks together is not really available to us, because we wouldn't be able to understand it even if we could see it. A long time ago, there was a movie with Albert Brooks and Meryl Streep called Defending Your Life. I've mentioned this before. There's a scene where Albert Brooks he's died, she's died. They're having a review, a life review. And they each have an attorney and a triune of judges. And the attorneys are presenting the case for why they should be able to move forward or not. As the prosecutor, I don't know that they call him the prosecutor, but basically that's the role. At one point, his attorney has disappeared for several days, however that is in the infinite. And when he comes back, Albert Brooks says to him, "Where were you? I had this substitute guy who was really weird. Where were you? I needed you." He said, "You wouldn't understand." And Albert Brooks says, "Well, try me." He says, "Okay. I was trapped near the inner circle of thought. Understand?" And Albert Brooks goes, "No." Well, of course not, because we're not at the place where we understand that next level of whatever it is that's trying to happen. We can't see the whole map. And because we don't know what the plans are, what the map is, how it all works out, we have to kind of go forward with a semi-blindness in consciousness. And I don't know about you, but I don't like that so much. I really like to know that I have control, that I'm not going to embarrass myself, that I'm not going to hurt myself. But the truth is, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen 5 minutes from now. I don't know. So we have to then give ourselves the opportunity to consider more than just the appearances that are in front of us. Appearances can be deceiving. They can be misleading. We want to be able to see, or at least consider the possibility that there's a larger truth behind the appearances that has more order, more love, more wholeness to it than I can see looking at the appearance in front of me. Because appearances can be deceiving. And if you look at this picture, the question is now, when you look at it right away at first, who's carrying who? So it looks like, from the way the picture is taken, that she is carrying him. But if you consider this as him and her body going around that side of him and his hand giving her support under here, you get a different perspective of what's happening in this picture. So the initial impression, you think, why is he wearing black tights? Why are his feet so small? Then, when you begin to look at it more closely, you start to see more. So this is part of the way in which we see through appearances, is we have to first be aware that there's more to look for. Otherwise, we're simply misled by what we're seeing or hearing. Lauren Kate said, sometimes beautiful things come into our lives out of nowhere. We can't always understand them, but we have to trust in them. I know you want to question everything, but sometimes it pays to just have a little faith. And that's true of the wonderful things that happen that we can't figure out how they turned up in our lives, and also the difficult ones. So we don't have enough information just from the appearance, and yet that's how we make most of our decisions, because to live in the world is to make decisions with incomplete information. When we are leaning into being open to more than just what's in front of us, our intuition will begin to grow. And it takes us into that kind of thing that we find in indigenous tribes where there is a nonlinear kind of knowing. Now, that nonlinear knowing that they have is a combination of being present and their observation, their skills at close observation, and their intuitive hits that they take and move forward with. Those two things. It's kind of hard to become a master of observation, and I count myself totally in the middle of this, when our face is always in a screen that's this far away. It's very hard to be aware and observing and taking in information when we're doing that. We have to learn to see a little differently. And it reminds me of trying to learn how to draw. And it was one quote, and I've said this to you before too, it was one quote that clued me into something. And the quote was from an artist. Well, if I want to draw something, I know that I have to look at it in that particular way. I thought, now that's really interesting. How is she looking at it differently than how I'm looking at it? So one of the things I learned was, if you're trying to draw something that you're looking at, like a picture, and you want to duplicate it, try to draw it when you're looking at it and it's upside down, because it will force you to look at it in a different way. Because you can't see it exactly to interpret what it is. Instead, you have to draw the lines relative to each other, relative to the space between. You have to look at the actual color you're seeing, not what your mind is making up. If you look at an apple, a red apple, it's not the same red all over the apple. And depending on the angle you're looking at it from and where the light is hitting it, there are many different colors in the surface of the apple that you see. And yet if we were to just draw it and color it, a lot of us would just color it red, right? Because we're not looking at it in that particular way. Well, I imagine that almost everything that we look at, we could consider looking at it a little differently. We could consider, what are the other ways that I could see this? How could I think about this differently? What is possible beside my opinion about this particular thing? And we come into a felt discovery of a greater truth. That combination of observation and intuition, internal guidance, that gives us more information that we need about a particular situation. Steve Jobs said, you can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backward. So you have to trust that the dots will somehow connect in your future. And I invite you to consider, if you haven't, and I imagine that you probably have, to look back into your life at people you met, jobs you had, and where you are now in your life, and see how those things in the past contributed to who you are and what you're doing right now. And how many of them were things that you didn't decide and create all by yourself. Things came to you, people came into your life. There was advice, there was information, there was help. And somehow we came with some serendipitous, apparently, occurrences to where we are right now. Edward Teller, who was the father of the atomic bomb and a nuclear physicist, it's very interesting to me that he's credited with saying this. He said, when you come to the end of all the light you know, and it's time to step into the darkness of the unknown, faith is knowing one of two things will happen. Either you will be given something firm to stand on, or you will be taught to fly. When you come to the end of all the light you know, and it's time to step into the darkness of the unknown, faith is knowing that one of two things shall happen. Either you will be given something solid to stand on, or you will be taught to fly. Now, the only way that we discover the something solid to stand on or the ability to take off is by stepping forward. We cannot figure it out in advance. We have to take the step, and that's a risk. But being in life is a trust walk. So the risk is a part of what we do when we decide to come here. Trust and faith are a solid package together. It's a package deal. If you have faith, you have trust. If you trust, it grows your faith. The two things are linked. They're not separate from each other. And so when we have that, I love this. Oh, it's not there yet. I want to show you this wonderful thing. Look at this face. There's great patience, loyalty, gentleness. And in the face of the little boy, we can't see his face, but we can see his hands are very gentle on the dog's face. He's very still. This photo was taken by his mother. Somehow in that natural faith in each other, there is a trust. That dog could easily eat him, but that's not what that dog does. That dog is his. That dog is there to protect him, to listen to him, to obey him, whatever their relationship is. But in this moment, there is a moment of great sweetness. Trust and faith come together. We don't develop trust unless someone proves themselves trustworthy. Or, maybe I should say it in reverse, we don't mistrust someone until they've proven to us that they can't be trusted. Sometimes that's really the truth. But every time somebody can be depended upon, our faith in them grows. We begin to relax. We begin to know we can count on them. That if they've said they're going to do something, then we know that's going to happen. Or they'll renegotiate or explain or be willing to take responsibility for it if it doesn't happen. They're worthy of our trust. They've earned it. So when someone has proven themselves to be untrustworthy, then we're called upon to forgive them, to let that go. But that does not mean we have to then once again try to trust them with something they've already shown to us they can't handle. That is not holding a grudge, but that is paying attention to the feedback that we're getting. Are you with me here? Yeah? You don't have to agree. I'm just saying, are you with me here? Is this making sense? It's up to you to decide what you want to about this. I know I'm talking about it like it's the truth, because I believe it, but it's up to you to decide what you believe, of course. Antonio Machado wrote this wonderful poem. In English, it says this: "Wanderer, Your footsteps are the way, and nothing more. Wanderer, there is no path. The path is made by walking. By walking, one makes the way, and upon glancing back, one sees the path that will never be trod again. Wanderer, there is no path, only wakes upon the sea. We are each of us making our own path. We can model our path on someone else's. We can gain strength from each other, but no one walks our path for us. We have to walk our own path. And so in order to find a new way, in order to live in a way that we've never done it before, we're forging a new path. And it really doesn't matter how long we've been walking around or standing on the planet, or how little time we've been walking around or standing on the planet. It's still true. We're still finding our way. We're still learning and making mistakes. When we step into that new way, it requires faith and trust. Those are prerequisites. We have to have them to progress to the next place. You know, when we're kids and we pass to the next grade, there's a lot of support to assist us to get to that point where we can pass to the next grade, and then certain amount of support to assist us in making the transition from the grade we were in before into the new one. We do that until we get through school. Then we have to find that for ourselves. We have to be that for ourselves in life. So when we step out into that unknown space, the support comes from our spiritual practice and our presence within the presence of God, and knowing that that's where we are. Because we're no longer, let's see, how do I want to say this? We never have been alone, but we've been in the process for a long time of learning that, testing it, practicing it, and now the universe trusts us more to go ahead and be part of that presence of support, knowing where the resources are, knowing what we need to advance to the next level, understanding that it requires some discomfort, some self-reflection, some attention or effort in going forward. And yet, we're not satisfied unless we do that, because we're not here to sit on our butts. Not present company accepted. I mean, this is what you're supposed to be doing right now, of course, but you know what I mean? We're here to go forward, not to do what somebody else has done, not to go backward, not to repeat our old successes, but to go forward. Holmes says, the doorway to the absolute stands open at the center of our intuitive perception. The doorway to the absolute. We're not going to get there by thinking our way there. The doorway to the absolute stands open at the center of our intuitive perception. Albert Einstein said something once about, I didn't come to my conclusions with the use of my rational mind. That's not it, but it's something similar to that. It just like looking at whatever I'm trying to draw from a different way of looking. What they're saying is that what they discovered and the way that they lived did not come about simply because they were good at thinking. There was something else that they had to do. The thinking wasn't enough. So we can know all the science of mind in the world. We can talk it backward, forward, and upside down. But unless we're surrendering into it, unless we're practicing our affirmations, unless we're doing beneficial things in the world, unless we're understanding how creative our own inner processes are, then we're in our own way. We're obstructing our own journey forward. And this is a story about somebody who discovered how to listen and be present in his own life. I was in my early 30s when I first began to question my calling, teaching at a university, and doing it reasonably well. But I felt stifled by the confines of academic life. A small voice inside was calling me towards something unknown and risky. and yet more congruent with my own truth. I couldn't tell, however, whether the voice was trustworthy, whether this truer life I sensed stirring within me was real or within reach. And then I ran across an old Quaker saying, "Let your life speak." I found the words encouraging, and I thought I understood what they meant. Let the loftiest truths and values guide you. Live up to those demanding standards in everything you do. I believed I was being exhorted to live a life of high purpose, as did Martin Luther King Jr., Rosa Parks, and Mahatma Gandhi. Clinging fearfully to my academic job, even though it was a bad fit, I tried to teach the way I imagined my heroes would. The results were rarely admirable, sometimes laughable, sometimes grotesque, as when I caught myself preaching to the students instead of teaching them. I had simply found a noble way to live a false life, imitating my heroes instead of listening to my heart. Vocation, the way I was seeking it, had become a grim act of will. Today, some 30 years later, I found deep joy in my vocation as a writer, traveling teacher, and activist, and let your life speak means something different to me now. Vocation, I've learned, doesn't come from willingness or willfulness. It comes from listening. That insight is hidden in the word vocation itself, which is rooted in the Latin for voice. Before I tell my life what I want to do with it, I must listen for what my life wants to do with me. I've come to understand that vocation is not as a goal to be achieved, but as a gift to be received, the treasure of the true self I really possess already. Vocation doesn't come from a voice out there calling me to become something I'm not. It comes from a voice in here, calling me to be the person I was born to be. There is always a voice calling us to be the person life wants us to be, the person we ourselves, in our souls, in our higher being, came to be. Can you hear it? Let's listen. Namaste. And now, thank you. I invite you to go within with me while we anchor this in consciousness. So here and now, there's only one. There are no empty seats in this room. There are no empty standing places on this floor. This place is filled with God. And that's all that's here. That's all there is. Full to overflowing with a presence, an awareness, a consciousness, an energy of creative love and beauty. Each one of us and everything in this place is a manifestation of that one, that mystery, that presence that I call God. That infinite being is the very life that we are living. And it is awake and aware within us now. So I speak this word for all of us in this room, all of us listening or watching online. This one within us is guiding us now into what is life calling us toward. What is our voice? What is our truth? What is our unique path forward? What is the next step? It's right here with us, right before us. It's right here inviting us toward it. By our very listening, by our very presence, we are taking that next step. We're taking the step on our own individual paths, but we're doing it together. We lift each other up in strength as we do this, and we allow a great flood of energy, intuition, wholeness, beauty, creativity into ourselves and into this space and into our lives. And we are deeply grateful to be aware of this flowing in, to affirm it, to take hold of it and allow it to lead and guide us forward. We're so grateful for the creative law that does this work for us, and for the wonderful luxury of having the awareness of this as possible right now, right here, right in this room within us. So in gratitude, we let this word go into that creative law of mind and spirit to do the work. We let it go into the presence, into the heart of the divine, which is everywhere, where this greater truth has always been so. We come into alignment with the greater truth in this gratitude. We let it be. And together we say, and so it is. Yes. Please stand and join me now for the morning affirmation. When I walk the earth, trusting the generosity and infinite love of God, I don't need to know or control things to receive them as blessings. I'm enfolded in the loving guidance of God always. Embracing this truth, it's easy for me to let go. And so it is. Let's say that last sentence together again. Embracing this truth, it's easy for me to let go. And so it is. Thank you. You may be seated. And I'd like to now invite the ushers to please come forward. This is our sacred giving time, and it really is a sacred time where we choose what we want to give of the bounty that's been entrusted to us as ourselves and our lives. Now, if this is your first Sunday with us, your presence here is your gift. We bless it and we're grateful for it. For all giving today in the room, I'm going to invite you to hold your gift near your hearts. For those of you that are texting to give online, you'll see the number right up here on the screen, or in the room, you can do that as well. Just text the amount you want to give to that number, and then, it'll take you through from there. And if you are giving regularly automatically, we want to bless the gifts that we're receiving in that way as well. So if you're giving your gift with a loved one, you can hold it in your hands together. Otherwise, let's all of us put our hands over our hearts as we say together, "This gift I give is God in action. I now send it forth to bless and to prosper. I know that everywhere it goes, it is creating a world living in love, one heart and one thought at a time." And so it is. Go ahead.
I wanna trust you in full. Ride every rainbow after the storm. Glide through the heart and soul of life. Love that shines bright all through the night. I wanna trust you in form. Every shape, every color, each child is born.
So now we, all of us here, on behalf of Golden Gate Center for Spiritual Living, do bless this offering, and we send it out into the world to seed more trust, more faith, more safety, and more willingness to step out onto that unique path. And so it is. All right. If you are with us for the very first time, I want to direct your attention to the table at the back here where Galen is standing. There is a lot of information there that you're free to pick up, flyers, that. Hello? There's also a welcome packet available for you with a blue card inside of it that says welcome. If you fill that out and turn it in to Galen, she's going to give you a little book called Nourishing Thoughts. That is our thank you gift to you for being here, and also our invitation to you to come back. We look forward to seeing you. And by the way, I never congratulated those of you who made it this morning. So if you got here on time, it's because you turned your clock ahead last night. And if you got here late and couldn't figure out what the heck happened, it's because you didn't. We're now on daylight saving time. By the way, also, tomorrow is the beginning of the month of Ramadan. So during this month, this sacred month, any of our Islamic brothers and sisters are going to be fasting during the day. They're going to be giving alms to the poor. A percentage of their total income is going to go to the poor. And they're going to be doing their prayers, of course. Some of them may be going to Mecca, if that's even possible right now, I don't know. So we just want to acknowledge that that's beginning. That holy month of Ramadan is beginning tomorrow. Also want to thank all the dear ones who did get here this morning to set up so that we're not just standing around. And so all of this, these are here, of course, but pretty much everything else you see that isn't nailed down, we brought it or we store it here, and we put it up this morning, and I want to acknowledge all these people who did all of this today. Yeah, good work, everybody. Oh, that's fascinating. Okay. I just flipped this over to the wrong page, and it was telling me the name of a particular slide instead of my next announcement, which starts out summer picnic. And I thought, that can't be the right announcement. No, I want to invite now Leslie and Marilyn to come up and tell you about their workshop, which is happening today from 1 to 3.
Well, first of all, I want to tell you something about my relationship with Marilyn. She was my teacher when I was studying to license as a practitioner, and then she became my official mentor for a full year. She had to sign a form that she would mentor me with the home office. So now that we are teaching together, this is a dream come true for me. Okay, you go ahead.
Oh, it's just so. Leslie had this workshop planned, and then she says, "Marilyn, step right in." And I said, "Oh gosh, this is great." If you were not able to come on the 18th to our first workshop, feel free to come today. There's no reason why you would have to have been there for the first day. We're inviting you, if you would like, to bring a sack lunch and have lunch in the kitchen at 12:30 so that we can start promptly at 1. We cannot leave the building unlocked, and we want to start on time. So please be there by 5 minutes to 1. And if you are going to come, would you just let Leslie or I know so that we have a better sense of whether, if there's somebody down there who needs to get in and can't. Okay?
Yes.
And one thing, today's lesson is about the feeling tone and the connection with Source. Okay, thank you.
And this couldn't be better timing because we're talking about all the stuff that Reverend Mary talked about today. It's amazing. Couldn't be better timing. So thank you.
That's great. I always love how the universe coordinates things that we have no way of doing. That's so great. Thank you. So please do talk to Leslie or Marilyn if you'd like to come today, not for permission, but so they're aware. Because as they said, the building where our office and learning center is now is locked on the weekends, and we can't unlock it. We can get in and out with our stuff, but that means if you're not there on time, you'll be locked out. So they're trying to do everything possible to make it easy for you to get there and participate. So that's why all that. I want to invite the ladies to the Women's Drumming Circle. It's happening on Wednesday, March 20th at Unity with Master Drummer Barbara Borden. And generally speaking, there's a $20 love offering that's requested, but anybody can come. You don't have to have that money to be there. You won't be turned away. Also, save the date. Easter is coming early this year. It is the last Sunday of March. So we're in the month that we're going to be celebrating Easter. And we have sign-up sheets at the table back here now for food and also help with setup and takedown. Please have a look back there and think about what you'd like to bring to share with everybody on Easter Sunday. And this year, I would like to do an Easter bonnet contest again, because I kind of miss that. Now, I don't know what I'm going to give you if you win, but, you know, and it's not just ladies. Anybody can dress up a hat. So go all out. Be ridiculous, have a good time, and we'll see what happens, all right? Also, we have another session with the San Francisco Marin Food Bank coming up on April 9th from noon to 2. Please contact Ellen Nicosia, or you can talk to her this morning, although I think she's in the kitchen now, and let her know that you would like to be on the team for next month, April 9th. It's just 2 hours at the San Rafael warehouse. Also, our annual membership meeting is coming up on the 14th of April. Be sure and put that date on your calendar. Everybody's welcome to come. Only members can vote, but we will be having a live meeting here for those who stay for the meeting. Members, you'll have to sign in, and there will be lunch for everybody. And then I will also have a Zoom link for those of our members who are not here present or those attendees who would like to attend the meeting. So be sure and save that date, because we'd love to have you here for that. Our practitioners are available after the service if you'd like a prayer. Bless you. Please don't leave with a heavy heart. Always take advantage of the free service our practitioners offer on Sundays to pray with you. And also, if you are in a rush or there's some reason why you can't do that or don't want to do that today, you can put in a written prayer request or make one online on the website. So that is that. Now, please stand and join me. Wait a minute, didn't I forget something? Yes, I forgot the prayer. Sit down. Practitioners, would you surround the room? This is going to be a quick prayer, but it'll be a doozy. All right? So let's turn within together. Know that you are enfolded in love, even larger than the circle of practitioners around us. We have present in the room with us the energies of all those practitioners that have ever served at Golden Gate, and their love and their consciousness, whether in the body, out of it, even if they're not practitioners anymore. That consciousness fills this space. All those people that have been here, all those people that have prayed with congregants and on their own. So we know that the room is filled with the presence of love, of high consciousness, of God itself. And that presence flows through every one of us, out into our week, into our day, into our conversations after the service this morning. And so we choose to live our lives in greater trust, to remember, to have faith, to let go and let God. With gratitude, then, we do that thing right now. We let this prayer go into that creative law that brings it into form and experience, into the heart of the divine presence, where it is the truth already. We let it go, and so it is. Now, please stand and join together for the closing blessing and song. Whoops, oh, Lisa.
We are the light.
No, not yet, dear. Go back. We are the light. We really are the light. That's what she's going to sing for the closing, and it is just Lisa for the closing. This is a very simple song. It's We Are the Light. You sing that a whole bunch. Anyway, it's easy. First, let's say this together. I now walk so that whoever walks beside me dwells in the presence of God, and whoever places a hand in mine is lifted, and whoever thinks of me is illumined with God consciousness. For Spirit and all people and I are one eternally, and so it is, and we are the light.
Here's a song called We Are the Light. We are the light. We are the light. We are the light of the world. We are the light. We are the light. We are the light of the world. We are the light. We are the light. We are the light. We are the light of the world. We are the light. We are the light. We are the light of the world. I trust in me. I trust in you to shine. We are the light. We are the light.
You know it
We
now.
are the
That's the whole
light
song.
of the world. We are the light. We are the light. We are the light of the world. We are the light. We are the light. We are the light. We are the light of the world. We are the light. We are the light. We are the light. We are the light of the world. I trust in me. I trust in you to shine. We are the light. We are the light. We are the light of the world. We are the light. We are the light. We are the light of the world. And what do lights do? Shine.